Nuggets avoided the sweep in Game 4. The Nuggets, no stranger to 3-1 deficits. They are the only team in league history to overcome back-to-back 3-1 deficits 2 years ago in the bubble. That being said, the Warriors looked like a powerhouse as of right now. Monica Leg's still here. Stephen A., who's the most important player on the Dubs?
I would tell you right now, it's Klay Thompson. And the reason why is because I love what I'm seeing from Jordan Poole, even though he had a relatively pedestrian performance yesterday. But that was because Steph Curry and Klay Thompson got it going. Game 2, or rather Game 3, it was all three of them. All right, Game 1 and 2, it was Poole. And Game 2, obviously, it was Poole and Steph Curry. Klay Thompson, even though he's been getting his, he really exploded yesterday, and he was incredibly effective. And you need him to be that guy because of his experience, what he knows what to do. I loved a couple of times, Tim, you'll appreciate this. There were a couple of times where normally Golden State would launch a three, and you saw Steve Kerr yelling, and the next thing you know, they pulled it back and then gave the ball to Klay Thompson on the wing to take advantage of Morris, who's obviously relatively smaller than him. You need to see stuff like that because when you got those three going, all of Klay's the question mark because he's still getting back into his groove. Ended the season with 3 strong games, averaging about 33, and then the playoffs came. He's shown up as well. But you really, he's still not 100%, and we all know that. We expect a better version of Klay come next season. What I love about Klay right now is that we're seeing more of the old Klay from the standpoint he was pressing earlier when he first came back in the season, where he was trying to prove he was worthy of being on an all-time NBA 75 team. He was trying to prove his muscle, and he deserved it because I voted for him to be on that team. He should have been on that team. I think he's one of the top 3 greatest shooters in the history of basketball. I think he's that lethal. But the thing is, he was pressing a little bit, and he was so out to prove himself and remind people of who he was that he sort of individualized his performance to a degree, and I thought that was taken away from guys, whereas now in the playoffs, we're not seeing that. So we're seeing him be more like Klay, and we need to see more of that because Poole and Steph Curry will adjust and know how to feed off of that because I consider Poole more of a mirror of Steph Curry to some degree than a Klay Thompson. We need Klay to be Klay because he balances things out. That's why I say him.
All right, I'm going Draymond. And I think, again, it is a lot of the intangibles. It's not necessarily the box score, although that assist column on the box score, I think, is a huge indicator of the type of ball game that he's had and that the Warriors have had as a whole. Klay, Steph, to me, Jordan Poole, the offense is going to allow those guys to find their spots. But the offense looks different when you got Draymond operating in DHO and off of screens. And then, to me, Draymond's impact is not just on the offensive end. He is, as we all know, the quarterback of that defense, battles against mismatches. He said post-game last night that he thought that he could have stepped up and he could have changed the temperature of the defense as a whole in allowing the Denver Nuggets to get that victory. So to me, it's Draymond because he has the ability to set all of those guys up. He can hit that long ball in terms of pushing for transition baskets. And he just really, to me, is the guy that kind of sets the temperature and allows the rest of those guys to go out and operate with a tremendous amount of confidence.
I love both your answers. I could make a great case for both of those guys. And the thing I love about the Warriors more than anything is I always think that the sum of their parts is far greater than any of these individual pieces. It goes together, right? So you can make a case for any of these guys. So I'll take a different guy. I'm going to go with Steph Curry for this reason. I still think this is the dude that stirs the whole thing because there's never been a player in the history of this league has required more communication, preparation, and therefore communication mistakes without the basketball than Steph Curry does. He creates so many opportunities that you will never see on any type of stat sheet because of what he forces defenses to have to communicate through. Where is he? Heads are on the floor. Is he about to pop off a down scoot over here? Is that a dribble handoff? I got to be up on that. They're coming up the court in transition. I am 20 feet out beyond where I should be, where I've been taught my whole life to run in defensive transition. So what does that create? It creates driving gaps and seams. It creates space. It makes Draymond Green a better passer because everybody's extended. It makes everybody better. His ability to play without the ball and what that does to defenses, to me, still is the embodiment of what the Warriors are. And that's why I still say it's Steph Curry. There's just nobody like him. He is unique unto himself. The way he plays, as great as those guys are, I still think it requires this guy and playing at a high level so he's that elite level threat that forces defense to overreact, that makes the game easy for everybody else.
I agree with you, but I agree with you because of his personality as opposed to his game. Like, when you see Steph, nobody ignites the crowd the way that he does. Nobody ignites his teammates the way that he does. You see Klay, you celebrate. You see Jordan Poole, you celebrate. when Steph do something, it just has a different feel, a different effect that appears to be more profound. So I don't blame you for that. Maybe I take that for granted, and Draymond I take for granted, which is why I mentioned Klay Thompson. But I also tell you what it also brings to mind. Do you know that when Ben Simmons first let it be known he wanted to get traded? No, you know when he first let it be known he wanted to get traded. You know they were talking about trying to get Draymond Green. And Steph Curry was like, oh, hell no.
Yeah.
Oh, no, 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 no. Now, he didn't use those words from what I was told, but it was a no. Could you imagine? Thank God the Warriors are the Warriors. Could you imagine if Golden State was stupid enough to do something like that? I mean, just imagine. Just imagine if they were stupid enough to do something like that. Thank God they weren't.
Here's the thing that's interesting about that, Stephen A. And Draymond, you dig into the numbers. He's been on the court for 128 minutes. The Warriors have outscored the Nuggets by 63 points in that time frame, right? So he obviously makes a difference. But Tim's point is the thing. Because if you put Draymond, even if that trade hypothetically were to go through, Draymond Green has been tremendously successful because of the system that he is in as well. Yeah. And so that's not even, can't even really be fathomed in terms of that potential trade concept.
No, 100%. And I think all of those guys.
We all agree.
I'm just saying, bro.
There's no question about it. And that's why I think ultimately, and even when you hear Draymond, and it's a great point. Listen, you can't even dispute anything about Draymond Green, even their record while he was out.
While he was out.
What happened to this team. Yeah. It's, what he means. On both sides, and I actually said offensively.
He's a standalone.
Offensively, I actually think they may have missed him even more because he is the IQ of the operation.
Yes.
He makes sure the ball does not go to guys in places they can't do something with it.
Yep.
And when you saw him out, it was a free-for-all offensively. Guys coming down doing all kinds of stuff.
Yes.
I'm like, wait, Draymond wouldn't let that happen.
That's right.
But he gets the ball at the top, and he looks over here and goes,
and not only that,
not this time.
Not only does he know what to do, he can do it. He's an exceptional passer. Absolutely. I mean, he gives these brothers the ball in motion. Yep. Draymond, to me, is a standalone. When I mention stuff like lethal weapon theory, stuff like that, Draymond is in a category by himself for that franchise because he's that valuable as a vocal leader as well.
Straight from Saginaw. All right, up 3-1, Game 5 Wednesday.
Saginaw.
Come on, first take LeBron vows to never miss the postseason. The Bucks blew out the Bulls 119-95 to take a 3-1 series lead. Giannis continued to dominate with his 12th career 30-point, 10-rebound, 5-assist game in the postseason, the third most since the merger. The Heat also took a 3-1 series lead with a 24-point win versus the Hawks. Jimmy Butler recorded his sixth 30-point game in the postseason with the Heat third most in franchise history behind Wade and LeBron. And looking ahead to tonight, the Celtics going for the sweep against the Brooklyn Nets. Brooklyn opened the season as favorites to win the NBA Finals at Caesars and are now on the brink of a first-round sweep. Before we get into the debate, Stephen A., I understand there's something you wanted to address.
Something I wanted to add, and I wanted to add it right here with Tim Legler in attendance with me because he's done such an exceptional job of coaching, covering the NBA for all of these years. I'd be remiss in neglecting to point out that as we talk about these players sitting, we don't point out the instigator of all of this, the number one culprit with these players' willingness to sit out, load management, all of this other